All right. Hello. This will be the con rebuttal. So this is the first rebuttal. So this is just 4 minutes of attacking the pros case. So that's what we'll do. All right. On pros first contention about incarceration, so just responses in general to the contention. First is non-unique. The status quo is solving this problem already with programs like Fresh Start from TCR 22. The Fresh Start policy will bring defaulted loans into good standing. All borrowers, including those in prison, will have the default record removed from their credit history, their eligibility for federal student aid restored, and loan collection efforts stopped. They will also be able to consolidate their loans and enter into a repayment plan. And the Fed of New York in 23 furthers that less than 1% of student debt was reported in default in quarter 2 of 2023. So what this is saying is that in the status quo, there's already ways to get out of default. And they're saying the problem is that there's so many people in prison who are stuck in default. And so we're showing you that actually they already have a way out without loan forgiveness. And it's working because defaults are down to 1% of what they were. Second is non-unique. Congress already restored the Pell Grant for people in prison. D'Oreo 23. The 1994 crime bill cut off Pell Grants for incarcerated students. In July, a federal rule change ended this ban, instantly making 767,000 incarcerated people eligible to use Pell's annual stipend to pay for higher education. What this is saying is that they're saying that people can't get the Pell Grant when they're in prison, and that's the problem because they can't get education. But what we're telling you is that actually Congress recently restored access to the Pell Grant, so this is no longer a problem. It's already been solved. And third, loan forgiveness is so expensive that it forces us to spend less on other things like education for people in prison. Smith 22. The government had a $2.8 trillion deficit in 2021. The deficit amounted to approximately 13% of GDP. The higher that percentage is, the less likely the country will be able to pay back its debt and is at high risk of default. There are trade-offs, and it's quite likely that if we spend this money on forgiving student loan debt, we won't spend it on other things we want to see the government do. Spending cuts could potentially slash some of the most important social programs in the country. The people who will benefit the most from cancellation shouldn't be the ones paying for it. And then fourth is that some people are in prison for a very, very long time. So they're telling you that we're going to get people in prison better education, which is going to benefit them. It's going to benefit society. But even if they get that education, that doesn't mean that there's necessarily a benefit or a better job waiting for them because they might be in prison on a life sentence. And fifth, this is also talking about people who are in prison, which could be in there for something really, really bad. And so it's better to focus on helping everybody else in general instead. So go to contention 2, which is teachers. First, in general, is non-unique. Loan forgiveness programs in the status quo are solving the problem, from FSA 16. Under the Teacher Loan Forgiveness Program, if you teach full-time for 5 complete and consecutive academic years in a low-income school or educational service agency, you may be eligible for forgiveness of up to $17.5 thousand on your direct subsidized or unsubsidized loans and your subsidized and unsubsidized federal Stafford loans. So this is saying that in the status quo right now, there's forgiveness programs that get people into teaching and keep them there. But second is loan forgiveness will make it easier for teachers to leave these programs and leave teaching, from Garcia 20. Research assessing teacher forgiveness programs show that they recruit and select candidates who are academically strong and committed to teaching and encourage recipients to teach for a number of years due to financial consequences if recipients do not fulfill their commitment. And third is loan forgiveness increases college tuition so fewer people become teachers. Anthony 23. If the Supreme Court had gone along with Biden's bailout of student loan borrowers, then future borrowers would expect forgiveness too. That provides an additional incentive to borrow money. But those already attending college and the colleges themselves are also affected by the increased incentive to borrow. The average student would borrow between $3,000 and $6,000 more, knowing that their clientele had more cash. Colleges respond by increasing their cost of attendance between $2,000 and $4,000. And fourth, overall, this is an issue of teacher pay, not of loan forgiveness. The bigger issue of teachers not being paid a lot is a problem that the pro doesn't solve. So, vote con.